Hey everybody, JDOT here. I am crazy excited. This week's JDOT Five emerged a little bit late and differently. I had something completely different ready to roll. Had it all done. I had the essentials package done. Hours and hours of work and prayer, and God at the last minute said, "Not that one, this one," which wasn't fully developed yet. I had this idea for it a while ago, kind of had it on the side in a file, and God said, "Nope, this one." So it kind of just, God worked through me to create it, and it emerged. And when I got done and sat back and looked at it, I saw what it was, and I felt this one. And so I was excited to get it to you. So I want to get into the arc for this week, the journey for this week. Every week, the JDOT 5 is a journey with Jesus, and not just 5 through 5 songs. This week, it's through 5 positions that move you from discovering you were already connected before you knew it, through being fully seen and not abandoned, anchored in proven faithfulness of God, naming the personal testimony of his grip, and finally choosing to stay. Not because you have to, but because you've learned what the tether feels like when it holds. So here's the flow for this week's journey. The position 1 is The Wandering. Jesus All Along by Franny Cash, which happens to be this week's, or the latest, lyrical lift. So the arc opens before the breakthrough, before the surrender, before the clarity, before anyone could even call it a faith story or a faith journey. Just a life, barely existing, spark gone, smoke and no flames. Every waking hour, the lies getting louder. And this is where most people actually live. Not in the dramatic rebellion, or not deliberately running from God. Just drifting, numb, going through the motions without even realizing that the tether was already there. And then the whisper cuts through. Not a shout, a whisper. And in that whisper comes recognition. He was there the whole time. Before I knew your name is the lyric. And that line is everything. When God was present in when you couldn't name him, when you couldn't see him. He was working in the moments that you called coincidence, holding on to a thread that you didn't even know existed. The tethered journey doesn't start with your decision to grab on. It starts or begins with the discovery that he never let go. So position 2 is the recognition, known by Torrin Wells. Fully seen, fully known, fully chosen, still here. So after the whisper comes a confrontation. To be known is terrifying. To be fully known is terrifying long before it becomes comforting. Because being known means it all. The wandering, the affair, the sin, the pornography, the mess, the hiding, the chaos, the choices you wish you could erase, the version of yourself that you don't want to show anyone. So being fully known is completely terrifying before it gets comforting. And yet, Torrin doesn't sing about a God who tolerates us despite what he sees. He sings of a God who stays because of what he sees, who runs towards the full picture, not away from it. This is where the tether becomes real. Not just that God was present, but he was present fully knowing everything. No surprises, no illusions, everything. Fully seen, yet fully chosen. And here's what changes in position 2. You can't be tethered to something you're hiding from. You can feel the connection. You can sense that something is holding, but as long as you're hiding from that, You're fighting against the very thing that was meant to hold you. So position 2 is the moment you stop hiding and you discover that he never left. Position 3 is the anchor, Faithful Still by Tasha Layton. This is where the theology gets its weight, if you will. Positions 1 and 2 were personal, a whisper, a recognition. Whereas position 3 pulls back the curtain and shows you the full canvas. The waters, the fire, the lion, the giants. This isn't abstract poetry. These were real people who faced real impossibilities and discovered that the tether held when everything else snapped. God carried them through the deeper waters. He walked beside them through the fire. He closed the mouth of bigger lions and he conquered even greater giants. And then he did it again. And again. You are faithful still. The tether isn't a feeling or a spiritual high in a good season. It's a proven, ancient, unbreakable reality tested against the worst that life can throw at us. It held then, which means it holds now. I have a hope. I have a future. I am a child of the mountain mover. This is the theological center of the entire arc. Before the personal testimony, before the final surrender, you need to know in your bones that what you're holding on to held before, not just for you, but for everybody who's ever trusted it. The line has never broken. Position 4 is the testimony, Always on Time by Pat Barrett. Position 3 makes the doctrinal case, if you will. Position 4 makes it personal again. Pat isn't singing about Daniel's lions or the Hebrew boys' fire, right? He's singing about his water, his fire, the specific nights that he was carried through, the moments that he couldn't take another step, yet someone carried him anyway. There's never been a day, there's never been a minute, there's never been a moment that you weren't in it. That's not theology, that's testimony. And testimony does something that doctrine can't. It makes the tether touchable. When you hear somebody say, I went through it and he held, something in you shifts from knowing it in your head to believing it for your own life. Position 4 is where the tether starts connecting the dots of your own story. Where you start seeing a pattern. Where you start recognizing the thread that's running through the different moments and the different seasons of your life. The water you survived, the divorce you survived, the challenge you overcome, the fire you went through, the moment you were carried when you had nothing left. He was in it. Every single moment. And now, having named it, having testified to it, you're ready to make a decision. So position 5 is the surrender. Stay by Zariah Zachary. Not I have to, I choose to. And this is where the whole arc lands. Not with a shout, not with a victory lap, but with something quieter and much more powerful than both. I will stay. After the wandering, after being fully known, after the anchor held and testimony proved it, the only response left is surrender. Not reluctant surrender, not desperate surrender, like we've seen in another journey with the JDOT Five. Devoted surrender. I give you my seconds, my minutes, my hours, my all. With no holding back, I'm holding on to all that you are. The tether was always there. The one you didn't know existed in position 1. The one that held you through the fire, in every fire in position 4. You're now choosing consciously, completely, with open hands. And here's the difference between position 1 and position 5. Position 1 was discovery. You realize that you are already connected. Position 5 is devotion. You're choosing to stay connected. One was revelation. The other one is a response. The whole arc lives between those two. And this is what tethered looks like at the finish line. Not held by force, held by love, and choosing to stay.